I'm Stephanie here with the GA Huddle, and we are speaking to Brooke Fiumara, who's one of the co-CEOs of OPTX. How are you, Brooke?
Hi, good morning. I am doing great. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for talking to us. Our first question is actually about how your role has changed since you began as a co-CEO and what your day-to-day job is like.
Well, I think what for me, like the best way to kind of speak to this question is really more along the lines of like how my role has evolved as the co-CEO of Optics and starting. And, when I started the company, I, a team of basically a team of three. I kind of did everything. I was IT, plugging in computers. I was UI, UX, doing design. I was product writing requirements, HR, right? Like all the things. And obviously, as we've grown, I've been able to um, grow the team and hire the subject matter experts in all of those particular areas, which has been really nice. So my responsibilities have shifted from being very in the weeds, working in the business at every level of the business to much more strategic planning, long-term growth plans. I obviously spend a ton of time representing optics at various events, things like podcasts. And all of those, I deal with conflict within the organization. So, they're all essential activities to keep us, on track and moving forward and achieving our vision of becoming the leading provider. So it's been a really fun evolution leading and growing this company for sure.
Right? Yeah, it sounds like you started doing everything at once and you've gotten to sort of see your baby like grow and streamline everything.
That's exactly right. The very first day in our office, very day one optics, I walked in and like we had one office that had glass doors and it was all shattered all over the ground. There was an earthquake.
Oh, wow.
Well, okay, well, I guess we're gonna start out with janitor and we're gonna get him. We didn't have a broom, I had to go buy a broom. So it's been a really fun journey.
The only way is up from there, definitely.
Exactly.
Well, we've also recently spoken to Steve Bright, who's your VP of Data Science at Optics, and he spoke with us for the May-June issue of Gaming America about how AI is a an important function within optics and how it is not de-skilling people, but differently skilling casino employees. And so we wanted to see if you could talk us through some of the different skills that they now get to use and things that they get to spend doing because of optics taking care of things in the background.
I absolutely loved that interview, by the way.
We did
And
too.
yeah, and I loved that quote. I thought it was like the perfect, like succinct way to describe how AI enhances the life in casino operations. And so for me, the first thing that came to mind when I read this question was really two things. Our artificial intelligence presents recommendations to these users, and there's two specific scenarios that I think of. One being, a host. So at any given point in time, a host could have hundreds, if not thousands, of high value players who have either declined an activity or not visited for some time. And rather than the host having to constantly try and comb through their book or a manager to have to kind of comb through the database to pull out those players, our top contact feature just presents them to the host in a daily task. And it tells them exactly who they should target to make the most potential impact on the bottom line for the property. And that's ultimately what you want them to get at, right? It helps them chisel away at the mountain of overdue contacts little by little from like most profitable or most important down. And same with the slot side, right? The slot floor has thousands of opportunities or low hanging fruit at any given point in time, but it takes hours and hours of manual labor to kind of comb through the data to arrive at something that AI can arrive at instantly. And by presenting those recommendations automatically to the end user or the team member, you're not de-skilling them. You're allowing them to do more to and do it more efficiently.
And what are some of the other things they're doing, like interacting with their guests? What are the more human things that are not solved by AI quite yet?
Yeah, so I mean, look, at the end of the day, like a casino is a social place, right? And that's something that truly AI can never really replace. And human interaction and building those relationships with players is essential to our industry. And so while AI can direct the team member to who to contact, it's really up to the team member to build that relationship, do that engagement, and ultimately continue to drive business to the casino through those social interactions. And I think fundamentally, you have to believe that properties believe in that methodology, because we build player development teams and that is their entire role. And so to think that AI could ever replace that, I just don't personally see it happening. I think there's way too much emphasis on kind of social, fun, human interaction within a casino.
So you definitely need both.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
What are some of the biggest challenges of setting up at a new casino when you bring the optic system in?
I think the biggest challenge, hands down, is for sure data integrity, data access, and just making sure that good data in, good data out. And I think that we have done a really good job at Optics of building a data team. So that's completely separate from our engineering team. All they do is focus on the analysis of the data, which is basically like validating that the data we're bringing in represents what the property wants to see, most importantly. And that's unique casino to casino. And then we have our data engineers, who are the ones actually doing the back end, like more engineering work. And we have learned that has been an evolution of learning through installing customers of just the right way to approach it from a data perspective, because hands down, it is the most challenging, most difficult lift of installing optics. If you don't get that right, the product's useless. So it's been an evolution of just kind of learning. I hate to say trial and error, but honestly, that's what it is. And just making sure that we have the right people in the right place doing the right jobs to get the data integration right.
Sure. And again, I hate to say error, but if there are any errors, how do the humans cope with where AI might not be on the right track yet? How do they teach it? How does your system evolve with the property?
Yeah, a great question. I mean, at the end of the day, optics uses techniques, AI techniques such as like supervised learning or reinforcement learning or even unsupervised learning to help make sure that the models are continuously improving. And we always have said from day one at Optics, like we are not on a mission to replace humans or human intelligence. We very much believe that will always have a place in casino operations. We've kind of like coined ourselves as like the co-pilot. Like we want to help supplement the knowledge base. We want to help bring low-hanging fruit forward faster. But at the end of the day, the users, the casino operators, work with AI to make sure that it makes sense for the business, because AI is not going to get it right every time. And so we provide these, various techniques and essentially feedback loops where the operators can say, hey, this is a really bad idea because of X. And that information goes from our UI directly through the pipeline back into the model to retrain. And then it doesn't present the same error twice. And I think that's essential and something that we from day one have been really focused on, because you're right, AI is not going to get it right every time.
Is that one of the more rewarding things about seeing your system in action when those errors are eliminated and when everything is happening sort of based on what has happened before? Or what are some of the more rewarding parts about seeing the system in action?
Yeah, it's one of them. Like I think one example that I got like super proud of and I was beaming and just kind of really excited for our data science team is when they were able to take our slot model. So we have like a slot recommendation engine that looks at all of the different machines, and provides recommendations. And essentially we started out that model at a 60-40 proposition, meaning a 60% accuracy rate. We've now been able to get that to 70-30 over just, again, learning in those feedback loops. And I think, there will be a day very soon where that's now 80-20 and then 90-10. And just it's so incredibly rewarding. And it's not, that's in partnership with our clients, right? Our customers are giving that feedback through these various channels so that the models can get smarter themselves. And ultimately, it's a win-win for everybody. It's a win for our clients. It's a win for the optics team. And so it truly is super rewarding. But there's another component to our product that the first time I heard it, I just was so happy. And I've heard the same thing over and over. And it's the line level team members, it's the hourly team members who say, I wouldn't know how to do my job without optics, or optics taught me how to be a host. And those
Wow.
moments are so, so beyond rewarding, because a lot of people think about a tool like optics as like an executive tool, right? Something only managers are going to use, or something only, somebody who's techie or data. And while, yes, our product is absolutely used by those people, like getting statements like that from somebody who's never done a job and then being able to pick up their mobile app and learn how to be a host because it tells them exactly, who to talk to. It kind of feeds the role to them. It's just like that for me is the biggest win. If I make somebody like truly love their job, gosh, I don't know how you get better than that.
That's incredibly reaffirming. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
what might be a possibly geeky data-based question as well, speaking of client feedback, is what's the most surprising data set or the most difficult data set that Optics has been asked to capture and measure?
I think I don't know that there's a surprising one. I think the most difficult one that is absolutely essential is the geospatial data of the slot machines, because having that like exact proximity and location information, not only relative to other machines, but relative to like the amenities on site is super important, and it's very hard to get.
An
Um,
individual per property, I imagine.
per property, per machine. And so it's, while we know how important it is, it's also very challenging. And so right now we're using, we are relying on the vendor provided geospatial data, but we continue to explore methodologies that are going to allow us to get even more advanced in that area. We think that's just a big opportunity, and something that our team spends time on, really trying to get it right and sustainable for the long term. Because as you can imagine, with 60, 70, 80 properties, 80 different floors, it's got to be repeatable and scalable solution. So something we're exploring. Definitely the most difficult for sure, but also super important.
Definitely. Our last question would just be about what else you're exploring and what the main focus is for Optics for the rest of 2023.
It is going to be a great year for optics. I mean, you guys know we really try to stay ahead of the industry by truly producing these innovative AI models that really are showing a measurable ROI. And so, our team is really focused on continuing that initiative. I think even last year, I think I did an interview and I talked about like the importance of AI, and I believed it then, but every year I feel like it just becomes more and more prevalent. And I think things like Chat GPT this year, exploding and becoming part of everyone's daily lives, people are starting to get it. They're starting to understand how AI can change how they do day-to-day tasks or how they think about a subject. And so that's what we're focused on, because the more that people are using AI outside of their jobs, the more they're going to be wanting to utilize it inside of their jobs. At least that's my belief. So we're really hyper focused on AI this year and just continuing to deliver these new innovative models. And that kind of goes back to everything we just said. We need great data. We need, great feedback. And so we're really, really blessed with truly just the most amazing partners for this particular task. So I think 2023 is going to be a great year.
Well, thank you so much again for joining us, and we look forward to seeing what else Optics can produce and what else the machines can learn.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for having me. I hope you have a great day.
You too. Thanks, Brooke.